My mother, Ardith Wilson, was looking for a place that she could really expand on her rehabilitation that she wanted to offer people that were struggling with addictions. And she wanted to find a large space that she could do that in. And a friend of hers actually found the former Notre Dame convent on the MLS. And she drove up to this old 20,000 square foot structure and just fell in love with it. So at the time, her partner had said to her, it's going to take $1 million to renovate this place. And when my mother hears the word no, she just digs in her heels harder. It was desolate. I mean, we're talking boarded windows, completely buckled wood floors, piles and piles and piles of debris.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad that you guys took as many pictures as you did, actually, to really document all the changes that has happened in this building.
Well, 54, I think, rooms in this building, and when I got here, 4 of them were actually able to spend any time, and the rest were all wrecked. And I remember my whole family almost having tears at how much work that needed to be done, and I personally didn't see that it was all that much until I got halfway through all the work, and then I realized I should have had a better understanding of how much work there was to be done.
Yeah, but if you had done that, would you have even started?
No.
The day that she took possession of the facility, she actually made me and my sister Melanie close our eyes. And she kept us kind of blindfolded, essentially, until we were able to enter the grounds of the facility. And when I opened my eyes and I took a look at the building, I had 2 thoughts that came to me. First was like, wow, this is such a stunning place and it's so amazing. Second was, what have you gotten yourself into? But when we opened the doors and we went into the building, I was overcome by this absolute sense of wonderment. It has such an amazing feeling to this place.
It is a unique building. It is just in its existence, you come in the door and it's very warm. We have all the high ceilings and oak doors and skeleton keys. But one of the things that we do differently here is we are a relational model. So when people come in, it is like a giant family. And because of our location being relatively isolated, there is a huge ability for a client to relax and feel safe.
Some people don't want to come to this kind of treatment. They think, oh, we're going to be God pushers. Well, we're not. God, for me, was good, orderly direction. We don't push religion. That's a personal thing. That's up to each person to decide what they want in terms of religion.
In January of 2016, I got a phone call from my father that my mother had left by ambulance and he wasn't sure what was happening and they thought it was a stroke. It turned out to be encephalitis and she was very, very ill. And the doctor had said to me at the time, I heard your mother had a business. And I said yes, and he said, well, whatever plan B is, you better put it in effect because she's not coming back to work. It was a devastating moment because I knew that Leipzig Serenity Retreat needed to continue. It was such a labor of love for my mom, and it was a place of hope for so many people. So I came back to the center that day, never even questioned whether or not we can continue because we had such dedicated staff and we had a program. We had an operational facility, so I just stepped into that role and until we were able to establish whether my mother came back or not. And as it turned out, she decided after she had gone through a couple of months of rehabilitation that she was going to retire after all. So I officially became the Chief Executive Officer of Leipzig Serenity Retreat that summer, and I was able to actually rename and rebrand the center later that summer for September 1st of 2016, and that was really my journey of becoming the CEO of what is now Prairie Sky Recovery Center. My experience with addictions was very limited just to my mother at the time and her friends and her AA family, essentially. But that very first phone call, when I answered the phone and it was a mother on the other end of the line, and I couldn't believe that my mom had to take call after call after call like that. It can be heartbreaking, it can be devastating. But then to have that client come in and have them go through the 5-week program and to see their heads, their shoulders come back and their heads come back up, and to see that life return to their eyes is such a rewarding experience that I was hooked. I knew that there wasn't going to be another job for me.
So in 2015, when I came through here as a client, I had an addiction to alcohol and drugs as well. And so I was searching around and I couldn't find anything that seemed to be a really good fit. They would only take us to step 3 or whatever. So when I found this place and they said I was going to go through all 12 steps, I was on board right away.
It's 24 hours, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months of sobriety. And I have a year one that I got to put here.
So when a client arrives here at Prairie Sky Recovery, we want them to be fully immersed in the lifestyle of recovery from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. One of the things that we do here is, of course, a recovery program, and we do offer a number of different recovery programs. Our primary program is a 5-week recovery program. So clients get up in the morning and they attend, the very first thing that they do is they attend a morning meeting, and that's at 8:30 in the morning. And we want them to start their day off right. They get up in the morning and they really set the focus for the day by attending that meeting. They head into their morning classroom, which would be a 12-step study group. Now, the 12 steps here are a very vital part of our program. A lot of centers will cover 1 or 2 or 3 steps, but we go through all 12 steps of the AA-NA philosophy here, and we do that with a counselor so that they really understand the importance of the 12-step program. After lunchtime, which is served by our fantastic kitchen staff, they go into the emotional health and wellness in the afternoon. So people have a lot of times come into addictions because of a trauma. Maybe they've been in a bad relationship, a codependent relationship, you know, a loss of a significant other or a child. And so sometimes they'll take that trauma and they'll use addictions as a coping mechanism. So we want them to understand why they have turned to drugs and alcohol in the first place, the emotions around that, and help them find themselves in a better place of coping when they're done.
We have phenomenal success rates, and we actually can explain how we measure them. That is not something that's common in this industry. I've been in this business for a very, very, very long time, more years than I'd like to admit, and we have really significant, outrageous success rates. And we did a little bit of evaluation trying to figure out what was in the Prairie Sky soup that is actually making us be as successful as we are, and we've identified a few pieces. We're not entirely sure exactly why, but we do know that it is working. So whatever we're doing that's different than other places is being significant.
It's just, this place seems like a home. It's not institutionalized like the places that I was looking at before. I felt like I belonged here. The people that come through here and that work here are in addictions as well. So they knew exactly how I was feeling, and I know exactly how they're feeling because I've been there and done that.
But I always saw a home that was going to be good for so many people. And I believe over 1,000 people have stayed here now to change their lives. And when I quit drinking, that's when my whole life changed. And I believe in this place. I believe that this is the answer. This will always be the answer to help people get sober.
I was able to kind of find out who I was, because for the last 17 years living in an active addiction, I didn't know who I was. And so it helped me find out who the true Kevin was, and then from there I could start creating a life that I really wanted to have for myself.
It's really, really important for a client to be able to be still, you know, especially if they're using stimulants. They're go, go, go all the time and they're physically exhausted. I think one of the most important things that they're able to do is eat, sleep, and reset themselves, because so often they haven't been taking care of themselves. It also is a trigger-free environment. So you're not in the middle of the city. You know, you can't hop a bus and just go to the local bar. I mean, we're about 30 kilometers on gravel to the nearest town. So it's, you know, it's a little bit more difficult for people to just hike out of here.
But this place could never be yours alone. It was never meant to be. And you cannot be selfish. It must be shared. For when you come and rest and wonder at this place, this solace, you leave a little of your heart behind for the next soul to find. Jacqueline Hoffman, April 10th, 2009.
My message for anybody who is struggling with addictions and who might be looking at taking that next step is that you don't have to do this alone. And there's no shame in asking for help. I think that in 2018, I think we can all agree that it's not a moral shortcoming. This is not a choice. This is a disease. This is an affliction that can be helped, and you don't have to suffer in silence, and you don't have to go through this alone. Sometimes when people are looking at attending a recovery program, they feel like they're going to be locked up. The doors are going to, clang behind them as they walk through. That's not the case. So this is more of a home-like environment. We have awesome food here. We have loving staff here, and I think that a lot of times if you give us the opportunity, we're here. We're going to be here to help you.
If you have program ideas that you'd like to see on maxTV Local On Demand, write us at max.local@sastel.com.